Have you ever felt that your life is merely repeating the same old limitations, that opportunities slip by before you even have the chance to seize them? There exists a vast, abundant current that has always surrounded you. Yet it is only when you awaken to your inner power that everything truly transforms. This video will guide you through 16 steps to connect with your innate legacy of prosperity, to open your eyes and allow natural abundance to flow into your life, turning every moment into an act of wealth where each thought and feeling becomes a seed of success, opening on the signal of awakening. Nothing in life happens by chance. Every encounter, every event, every word that appears at precisely the moment you need it is a sign of a design far more intricate than the senses can perceive. That you are reading these words is not a game of coincidence. It is evidence that your consciousness has ripened to receive a new level of understanding. Just as a seed cannot sprout in the dead of winter, truth cannot come to you while your soul remains closed. It emerges only when the soil is soft, when the rain has fallen, when your heart is ready to open. This very moment is the quiet knock of awakening. Some books happen to fall into our hands on the very day we feel trapped. Some conversations, overheard by chance, become the guiding compass for months ahead. Some melodies, some images, some words of advice we stumble upon suddenly strike us profoundly, as if written for us alone. This is not coincidence. It is the whisper of the Spirit, a signal that a new door is waiting to be opened. Today, the appearance of this knowledge within your sight is a reminder that the time has come to step into a new phase where lack is no longer destiny, where abundance becomes your essence. In the universe, there is no meaningless void. Everything operates according to the laws of divine order. When you enter a room and the light from a tiny candle dispels the darkness, you know that the darkness does not vanish through effort. It disappears simply because the light is present. In the same way, poverty or lack does not truly exist as an independent entity. It is only the absence of awareness of abundance. When your consciousness is ready, truth appears like light. And immediately what you call scarcity dissolves. This is the meaning of the signal you are experiencing. Do not think that you accidentally clicked on some content online. Do not underestimate the fact that you have found this message among millions of other choices. The universe does not operate by chance. It operates by resonance. And resonance occurs only when two frequencies align. This knowledge appears because the frequency in your mind has shifted, vibrating at a pitch high enough to attract it. Try to recall how many times you have stumbled upon a phrase, a passage in a book, a shared insight that made you feel as if someone understood you to your very core. Those moments are not just information, they are awakenings. They are proof that life is not random, that you are always being guided to the right place, at the right time, to the right person, to receive what you are ready to accept. And today, what you are receiving is the affirmation that wealth is not out there somewhere. It is within you. You may ask, why now and why not before? The simple answer, before, you were not ready. If a grain of rice is sown on hard rock, it will wither. If truth is sown into a mind that is not open, it will be dismissed as fanciful. But when consciousness is yearning, when the heart is weary of resistance and begins to crave a new path, knowledge appears not sooner, not later, but exactly at the moment it is needed. This is the beginning of a journey, and every journey of transformation begins with awareness. Awareness that your current life is no longer sufficient to contain your desire. Awareness that beneath the layers of habit, doubt, and the stories you once believed, another reality is waiting to be revealed. As you read these words, understand that the signal has been sent and you have responded. Notice the feeling within you at this moment. Perhaps your heart beats faster. Perhaps your mind feels clearer. Or perhaps it is simply a profound silence you have never experienced before. This is the sign of a shift. Do not take it lightly. The greatest transformations always begin in silence, like a seed sprouting in the earth, unseen, yet with a power capable of breaking through the hardest ground. The signal of awakening does not come just once. It will continue to echo in many forms, in dreams, in encounters, in opportunities you did not expect. Each time you respond, you move closer to the truth of yourself. And that truth is that you were born to live in abundance, not temporary abundance, not abundance dependent on luck, but abundance as your eternal nature. So receive the event you are living in this very moment as confirmation. This is the time. This is the door. This is the invitation to step into a new consciousness from today. You no longer need to see yourself as a victim of circumstances, but as a co-creator with the universe. Remind yourself that you did not stumble upon this knowledge by accident. This knowledge found you. It found you because you called it through a silent yearning in your heart. And now, as the signal has sounded, as the resonance has aligned, prepare yourself, for what you are about to discover will not only change the way you view money, but it will transform the way you see your entire life. The essence of prosperity. Wealth is a state of consciousness, not merely money. Prosperity is not the cold numbers displayed in a bank account. It is not the certificates on your wall or the grandeur of your home. These are merely outward expressions, like the blooming of a flower that signals the health of the tree. But life itself is not found in the flower. It lives deep within the roots, buried in the soil. Likewise, true prosperity is not found in outer material forms, but in the inner state of your consciousness. If the roots of your thoughts are withered by fear, doubt, and disbelief, then even if you briefly touch symbols of wealth, they will fall away like dry leaves in the wind. But if your consciousness is rooted firmly in faith and abundance, if your heart overflows with a sense of sufficiency, then sooner or later, the outer world will have no choice but to blossom. Look to nature, and you will see this principle revealed so clearly it cannot be denied. A forest never fears it will run out of trees. Every spring, millions of seeds awaken, not a few, but countless. A river does not hesitate, wondering if it has enough water to reach the sea. It simply flows. The sun does not calculate how much light it should give today. It shines to its fullest. From the stars in the heavens to the sands on the shore, all of creation proclaims one truth. Abundance is the law. Scarcity is the illusion humanity has invented. Yet why is it that we believe in scarcity more than in abundance? Because from childhood, we are taught that everything is limited. Money must be earned painstakingly. Opportunities must be fought for. Happiness is a privilege of the few. We are taught that for one to gain, another must lose. But consider this. Have you ever seen the trees in a forest fight for sunlight? Has a river ever held back because it feared the ocean was too full? Nature knows nothing of competition. It only knows how to express its fullness. And because you, too, are part of nature, your true essence is abundance. Everything you lack today is not because the universe does not have enough for you, but because you have yet to fully agree that you deserve to receive. Like standing by a flowing river with clenched fists. You cannot catch the water. Prosperity has never abandoned you. It flows around you every day, simply waiting for your heart to open and receive. Let me ask you something. Do you remember the last time in your life when you truly felt abundant? When you truly felt full, not because of the money in your wallet, but because of a deep inner knowing Maybe it was a morning when the sunrise was so beautiful it made your chest swell with joy. Maybe it was a moment when a loved one smiled and you realized you were rich because of that love. Or maybe it was when you sat in silence, breathing deeply, and felt life pulsing through every cell. That is true prosperity. And if you've ever experienced it, you know, it isn't dependent on your surroundings. It is a state of consciousness. I know you are present here, listening to these words, and I want to thank you. Thank you for taking time for yourself, for opening your heart to a new perspective. Not everyone has the courage to sit with themselves, to reflect, to ask the hard questions, but you are doing that, and that very act proves that you are ready to go, further ready to discover the truth, that prosperity is not something to chase, but a nature within you that must be awakened. If you realize this, a great shift will begin. Instead of thinking you must battle life, you will begin to cooperate with it. Instead of seeing money as distant, you will begin to see it as a natural flow, coming and going in service of life. Instead of fearing tomorrow, you will trust that the universe is always more abundant than you imagine. And when this belief takes root within you, the results in your outer world will begin to change, not through force, not through panic, but simply because you are living in alignment with your true essence. So take a moment to look within yourself right now. Where are you standing? Are you believing in scarcity, or are you willing to open your heart to abundance? That answer will determine the experience that follows. And remember, this abundance has always been the law. Scarcity is merely the shadow of a mistaken perception. When the light of truth arrives, the darkness of lack disappears on its own. The reverse formula, society teaches, do, have, become, but truth says, become, act, have. Be the wealth first. From a young age, we were fed a formula that seemed unquestionable. If you want to become someone of value, you must first do a great deal, then have the results to show for it. And only then will you be recognized as successful. The model society has imposed a relentless loop that keeps people chasing outcomes their whole lives, rarely pausing to examine the root. That formula has birthed a generation of the exhausted, always feeling inadequate, constantly trying to prove their worth through external achievements, only to find the more they prove, the more empty they feel, because this cycle runs counter to the laws of the spirit. Truth is far simpler. The correct order is not. Do first, have later, and only then become. The correct order begins with identity. You must times be times first. When you recognize that your essence is already one of wealth, already whole, you naturally act from that state. And when action flows from fullness, the external world must reflect that fullness. This is not wishful thinking. It is a foundational principle governing every area of life. Imagine an artist. He does not become an artist only after selling million-dollar paintings. He begins by perceiving himself as an artist. From that identity, he picks up the brush, he creates, he acts, and that action, rooted in identity, eventually leads to results that are recognized. The same is true for a farmer. He does not sow seeds to prove he can. He sows because he knows he is a cultivator. Identity drives action, and action yields results. Spiritual life is no different. You do not need to have great wealth in order to be called wealthy. You must times become times wealth first, and the outer world will synchronize with that state. Society's formula do, have, become is like a mirage, luring you to run endlessly on a hamster wheel, never arriving. People work themselves to the bone, hoping that having more will bring them validation, and that from validation they will feel worthy But the paradox is this: even when recognition comes, the emptiness remains, because they are searching for essence in things that cannot bestow it. But when you begin with becoming, every action thereafter is no longer a desperate effort. It becomes a natural expression. This explains why some people seem to do less yet achieve far more. It is not luck. It is because they begin from a state of inner abundance. When you know who you are, you don't need to convince anyone. You just times life, and that life radiates a magnetic pull. Conversely, when you act from a sense of lack, every step feels burdensome, every success fragile, because the root was never nourished. Remember, a seed never has to prove. It is a seed. It simply carries within itself the essence of a tree, and from that essence, it sprouts, it grows, it blooms, it bears fruit. Humans are the same. When you know you are already wealthy, your actions carry the mark of wealth. You make different decisions. You see opportunities others overlook. You respond with openness instead of constriction. And as a result, your outer life becomes as full as the truth within you. This reverse formula applies not just to money, but to love, to health, to meaning. The one who waits for love to feel lovable will always feel abandoned. The one who knows they are already lovable, already whole, will naturally act as someone who loves, and love will be drawn to them. The one who believes they are healthy at the core will make choices that nourish the body, and health will become the inevitable result. If you only look at life through the lens of the wrong formula, what I say may seem vague, but when you apply it, you will see the shift. The moment you dare to declare within yourself, I am already wealthy, you will feel the energy shift. That feeling will guide your actions, and those actions will produce matching results. This is a spiritual law. No one escapes it. So examine every belief you've been taught about how to become wealthy, about how to become someone. Ask yourself, is that formula truly taking you where you want to go? Or is it keeping you spinning in place, trapped in a loop with no exit? If the answer is no, then it is time to flip the formula. Begin with becoming. This is not delusion. It is a return to your original essence. And once you live from that essence, your actions will carry the signature of truth, and your results will be nothing but abundance. This truth has always been simple. It is humans who make it complex. Look at nature, and you will see trees, rivers, the sun, flowers. They all live in alignment with their essence. They do not prove themselves. They do not wait for outside approval. And for that reason, they are always abundant. You were created from the same principle. All you have to do is remember inner transformation, letting go of the habit of waiting for external validation, embracing your inherent worth, and dismantling limiting beliefs. Human beings often live their entire lives waiting for an external sign to affirm their worth. We throw ourselves into work, strive for achievements, seek approving glances from others, long for certificates, positions, or sums of money just to believe we are worthy. But the more we wait, the more hollow we feel, because we've anchored our identity in the distorted mirror of outer reality, and that mirror is ever changing, never allowing our hearts to rest. The truth is, you don't need to wait for anything to become valuable. You are already enough from the very moment you entered this world. Imagine a newborn child. From the moment they open their eyes, do they need a certificate to prove they deserve to live? Do they need accomplishments to be worthy of love? Of course not. The value of that child is self-evident, for life itself carries infinite worth. But as time goes on, we are layered over by teachings, experiences, and judgments that make us forget this simple truth. We begin to believe we must do more, have more, just to be seen as someone, and this very belief becomes an invisible chain, binding us to a loop of lack. Inner transformation begins the moment you realize that no external event has the right to define you, whether others praise or criticize, whether you are at the peak or in the valley. Your true worth remains unchanged. It does not increase with success, nor does it decrease with failure. It is like the sun still blazing even when obscured by clouds. To acknowledge your inherent worth means to stand in that light without waiting for someone else to flip the switch. As long as you live with the old belief that your value depends on external evidence, you are handing over the reins of your life to the world outside. That explains why so many seemingly successful people still feel empty, because they've never returned inward to affirm their worth from within. And when the inside remains unchanged, the outside can only offer fleeting moments here, 1 minute, gone the next. But once you dismantle that limiting belief, you will discover a freedom you never knew was possible. You'll stop living like someone begging for validation and begin living as one who radiates it. Ask yourself, are you still waiting for something out there to prove that you are worthy? Do you still believe that once you have more money, more recognition, more status, then times you'll truly be valuable? If the answer is yes, then this very moment is your invitation to shift, because true worth never lies in outcomes. It lies in essence. And when you begin to see yourself from a place of wholeness, that very perception will reshape every result in your outer world. I want you to do something simple right now. Affirm to yourself and to the world that you are ready. Leave a comment with the words, times I am ready to change, or even just the number times 1 asterisk, so I know you are present, so that you can affirm it to yourself. This small act is not for others to witness. It's for you to begin breaking the old habit, to stop waiting for external approval, and to stand up and claim your inner worth. And I want to thank you for having the courage to be here, the courage to choose not to live one more day, repeating old limitations. Remember, when you release a limiting belief, you create space for truth to enter. And truth has always been waiting. It simply needed you to strip away what was never yours to carry. Once you dare to step forward from the knowing that you are enough, you will no longer be one who seeks worth. You will become the embodiment of it. And from that place, your life will begin to reflect exactly what you have always been. Abundant, whole, and lacking nothing. The financial thermostat, your inner self-image, sets the default level of wealth without elevating identity. Even luck will be pulled back to the old set point. Within every individual exists an invisible mechanism, much like a thermostat, that silently governs the level of prosperity they are able to sustain. It doesn't appear on paper or in your bank ledger. It resides deep within the self-image you hold about who you are. You might win the lottery, unexpectedly close a massive deal, or inherit a great fortune. But if your inner image has not been raised, that money will slip through your fingers like water falling onto sand. And before long, you'll return to the lifestyle that feels familiar. This explains why some people make a great deal of money and lose it all, or why others seem to remain stuck at a level of just enough, no more, no less. It's not because they lack opportunity. It's not even because they lack ability. It's because their financial thermostat deep in the subconscious has been set to a certain limit. That limit was installed by unconscious beliefs about money, worth, and deservedness, many formed in childhood. If someone grew up in a household where money was always a source of worry, their inner normal becomes tension and lack. No matter how hard they try later in life, the subconscious pulls them back into the safety zone of scarcity, because that's what feels familiar. This thermostat functions exactly like the one in your home. When the temperature rises too high, the system activates to cool it down. When it drops too low, it heats the space back up. Your finances behave the same way. If the money you possess exceeds what you feel is natural, you will unconsciously make poor decisions, overspending, impulsive investments, or encountering sudden misfortunes, all of which are designed to pull you back to your old financial baseline. And if you dip below that level, you'll also find ways to climb back up to what your inner self deems acceptable. So the secret isn't in making more money, but in expanding your internal image so it can hold more. Those who elevate their identity will see good fortune come and time stay. Those who don't renew the inner self will watch wealth pass through them like a breeze. The difference lies not in how hard they work, but in how much they believe they times deserve. You can see this in countless stories around you. Some rise from poverty to wealth, only to lose it all soon after. Others go bankrupt, fall hard, but rebuild their empires again and again. The key difference isn't just business savvy, it's that deep down, their self-image is anchored either in abundance or in lack. And once someone believes with certainty who they are, they will live according to that belief, regardless of circumstance. This is why the true path to expanding wealth doesn't begin with chasing new opportunities, but with resetting the financial thermostat within your mind. It requires you to examine the deeply ingrained beliefs. What level of income do you believe you deserve? What amount feels normal to you? How much are you times comfortable times holding? If a voice within you whispers that wealth is wrong, that you don't belong to abundance, or that having a lot of money is dangerous, then no matter how hard you try, your subconscious will always keep you locked outside the door of prosperity. Change does not come from isolated effort. It comes from redefining the self. When you elevate your identity, you no longer think like someone trapped in lack. You no longer make decisions based on fear. You no longer avoid opportunity out of a fear of loss. Instead, you act with confidence. You dare to invest. You welcome abundance. You learn to hold times what flows in. And from that internal posture, the outer world must shift to mirror the new self you have become. No change is sustainable if this thermostat remains the same. That is why so many go from seminar to seminar, book to book, and yet their lives remain unchanged. They are trying to change behavior without changing identity. They want a new harvest, but they haven't sown new seeds. They want to keep the rivers flow, but haven't yet deepened the soil of their soul to form a container vast enough to receive. If you truly want to elevate your prosperity, begin by elevating times yourself. Ask yourself, who is the wealthy version of me that I am becoming? How do they think? How do they act? How do they make decisions? And most importantly, what do they believe about themselves? When you dare to live as that times version, your internal thermostat will begin to adjust, and once it's reset, your life will shift permanently. The inherent wealth identity, the prosperous version of you already exists within. Family and societal programming is just a layer that can be replaced with new belief. Deep within every human being lies a complete version of themselves, a wealthy, radiant self that has been present since the moment of birth. You don't need to search for it outside. You don't need to build it from scratch. It has never left. It's simply been hidden beneath layers of memory, inherited belief, and teachings you absorb from family, society, and your environment. Like a gem buried beneath the mud, your wealthy identity hasn't lost its value. You just haven't yet seen its brilliance. Since childhood, you may have heard phrases like, money doesn't come easy, wealth isn't meant for people like us, or success requires sacrifice and suffering. repeated often enough, these words became unquestioned truths in your mind, so deeply ingrained, you stopped challenging them. But what you thought was your nature was merely a covering. Your true nature is abundance, creativity, wholeness. What's needed is not the creation of a new self, but the peeling away of old beliefs to reveal the wealthy self that has always been there. Recall the moments in life when you felt strong, confident, and fully alive. Perhaps it was when you overcame something you once thought impossible. Perhaps it was the moment you made a decision so wise it altered your path forever. Or maybe it was simply a day when everything flowed with ease, and your heart felt a peace. Those were glimpses, flickers of your inherent wealthy identity, shining through the outdated programming. And if it flickered once, it still exists. It's simply waiting for your recognition and nurturing. You are not required to carry the inheritance of limiting beliefs passed down from family or society. The generations before you may have believed life was struggle, that money was always scarce, that opportunity was reserved for the few. They held those beliefs to survive their reality, but that doesn't mean you must continue to bear their burden. You can honor their love while letting go of the fears they handed down. Love is the true inheritance. Limitation is merely a temporary layer. When you realize this, you awaken to a liberating truth. Nothing needs to be added to you to make you whole. Only the false layers need to be removed. That's why this journey is not about constructing, but about returning, not about striving, but about unveiling. You are slowly remembering who you already are, and that remembrance changes everything. This is the power of the inner life, a power no external world can give or take away. This is the power of voice within, not just a voice you hear, but a space you return to. Asterisk, when you come home to that space, you realize the inner voice has always whispered that you were born to live in abundance, to express the creativity of the universe, to be a channel through which prosperity flows. That voice was never silent. You just hadn't listened long enough. Picture this, like a statue hidden within a block of stone. The sculptor does not create the form. He simply chips away what does not belong. And the statue is revealed. Your journey is the same. The wealthy self is not something you build. It is something you unveil by removing every false belief that never belonged to you. And once the covering falls away, your life will look entirely different. You will stop acting from fear and begin acting from faith. You will no longer wait for opportunities. They will appear naturally everywhere. You will no longer strain to prove yourself. You will simply radiate truth, and from that state, your outer results must change. They cannot remain the same. No illusion is stronger than truth. Once you touch the truth that your wealthy self has always existed within you, you will see clearly every limitation was only a mirage. And in that light, you will walk with a confidence you've never known before. Because now you are no longer searching. You are returning to what has always been yours. Self-worth and money is energy. Money flows toward where it is valued. Your bank account mirrors how you value yourself. Money is not just paper bills or lifeless numbers. It is a form of energy. And that energy moves according to laws that are subtle, yet precise. It always gravitates toward where it is honored, welcomed, and used with clear, wholehearted intention. If you approach money with fear, guilt, or the belief that you are undeserving, that energy will slip away from you. But if you meet money with gratitude, respect, and the belief that it is a tool to express value and serve life, it will flow to you like a natural stream. Every financial transaction in your life reflects the way you perceive your own worth. If you constantly undervalue yourself, if you believe your work isn't worth much, You will accept low compensation, hesitate to charge your true value, and feel uncomfortable receiving beyond what is normal. As a result, your bank account will mirror exactly that. Like a silent and honest mirror, it passes no judgment, but it misses nothing. What you believe you deserve, your numbers will return to match. Have you ever wondered why some people boldly charge high prices for their work and others willingly pay them? It's not only because their product or service is better, it's because the way they value themselves sends out a powerful signal. When someone deeply believes in their own worth, that belief radiates through their voice, their posture, their eyes, their decisions. Others feel it and money feels it. Two, because money always follows the frequency of self-assurance and value. On the other hand, there are those who work endlessly, give generously, yet inwardly believe they are not enough, that they are small, unworthy of receiving more. These unconscious beliefs become invisible walls that block the flow of financial energy. Money may arrive, but it does not stay because there is no inner space to hold it. They may work twice as hard, but the outcome will always return to a preset limit, the one they unknowingly imposed on themselves. The truth is, money flows where there is harmony between inner value and outer action. When you truly respect yourself, your behavior shifts. You know how to say no to offers that diminish your value. You begin to choose projects and financial relationships that align with your dignity. You learn to use money to nourish life rather than compensate for inner lack. From that state, money becomes a companion, not a master, and never a burden. Think back to the times you received money with feelings of guilt or anxiety. Maybe it was when you got a raise but felt unworthy, or when you charged a fair price for your service but feared you were asking too much. Those subtle emotions sent a signal: I haven't yet given myself full permission to receive. And the universe always responds precisely to the signals you emit. If you haven't opened your heart with appreciation, money cannot stay long. Self-worth is the origin point of all financial flow. When you elevate the way you see yourself, your account will begin to reflect that elevation. You will find yourself willing to receive, to hold, to invest, and to give from a place of abundance. Money will respond like intelligent energy, drawn to where there is clarity, appreciation, and a foundation of deep belief. It never miscalculates. It only reflects the value you place on yourself. So if you want to change your financial reality, begin by changing how you view yourself. Ask, at what level am I valuing myself? Do I consider my efforts precious? Do I believe I deserve to live in abundance? Each answer will reveal why money behaves around you the way it does. And from there, you can recalibrate. You can choose to believe differently, act differently, give and receive from a new foundation. Money does not come to be owned. It comes to reflect times you. If you live as someone who honors, loves, and believes in their intrinsic worth, money will become the clearest evidence of that inner transformation. And when you finally realize that true value isn't in the number itself, but that the number is the inevitable result of inner worth, you will have mastered both. The wealth image of the mind, the inner world as a mirror, holding a consistent vision of abundance is more powerful than scattered effort. Your external life is not the result of fleeting wishes or intermittent effort. It is the constant reflection of the mental image you carry within. The mind is like a mirror. It reflects precisely what is projected onto it. If the image within is one of lack, then no matter how hard you try, reality will continue to revolve around scarcity. But if the image within is one of abundance, even on your hardest days, you'll see light, you'll see opportunity, and in time, your outer world will unfold into richness. People often believe that doing more, working harder, will automatically change their lives. They force themselves into endless to-do lists, rigid goals, and non-stop action. But they forget that action does not emerge from emptiness. It emerges from the image you've accepted about yourself. If that image remains small, doubtful, and filled with lack, then every action, no matter how intense, will only cycle within the same old limits. Action cannot transcend the self-image that generated it. Picture a farmer sowing seeds. If he believes the soil is barren, he sows with hesitation. His hands are reluctant, and his care will waver. But if he holds in his heart the image of a lush, fruitful field, he will plant with faith, even before the first drop of rain. He will persist because the image already lives inside him. In the same way, maintaining a consistent mental image of wealth matters more than any scattered bursts of effort. That image is the origin of all sustainable action. The most dangerous thing is inconsistency within the mind. You might sit and visualize abundance for 5 minutes in the morning, but then spend the rest of the day worrying, doubting, and speaking of lack, that inner contradiction sends mixed signals to your subconscious. It's like building a house and chipping away at the foundation at the same time. There will be no completion. Many people complain that they've tried affirmations and visualizations but haven't seen results. What they don't realize is that a mental image cannot grow from scattered moments. It must be held consistently, like breath itself. The key is persistence. A wealthy image must be carved so deeply into your mind that it becomes second nature, not something you struggle to remember, but something you can no longer forget. When that happens, every word, every decision, every action will flow from that place, and the outer world must mirror it, because reality always reflects the mirror you hold. Observe those who sustain lasting success. They aren't necessarily working harder than everyone else, but they are unwavering in the mental image they carry. While others fluctuate with circumstance, they remain rooted in their vision despite challenges. That steady belief reprograms the subconscious, aligns circumstances, attracts relationships, and causes reality to shift in accordance with the image held within. This world does not operate by luck, but by resonance. You do not receive what you momentarily crave. You receive what you consistently believe and feel. That's why fear multiplies fear, and worry attracts more reasons to worry. But faith in abundance invites greater supply. Your mental image is the key, because it is the frequency you are broadcasting every moment. To hold a wealth image, you don't need elaborate rituals. You only need to choose and remain faithful to that choice. Choose to see yourself as someone who is already wealthy. Not wealthy someday, but wealthy times now. Choose to feel fullness in each breath, each step, each decision. Let that choice seep into every detail of your daily life. When that choice becomes habit, habit becomes identity, and identity creates new reality. If you don't yet see the result, don't doubt. Remember, a seed doesn't bloom overnight, but if you keep the vision of a full harvest alive in your heart, you will have the patience to wait for it, and when the harvest arrives, you will know the visible fruit was simply the unfolding of a vision long held in your mind. So stop chasing after scattered efforts. Pour your energy into holding a consistent inner image. Once the mirror within is polished and clear, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it, and in that moment, wealth will no longer be something you pursue. It will be something you live. Moment by moment, subconscious reprogramming. The mind is fertile soil. Repetitive planting of abundant images, infused with emotion, creates a new normal. Your subconscious is like fertile soil. It does not judge between good or bad seeds. It simply nurtures whatever is planted into it with enough repetition and emotion. If you sow images of lack and anxiety, your life will blossom into experiences of scarcity that if you plant images of abundance infused with strong belief and emotion, your life will unfold into prosperity. This is why subconscious reprogramming is not a game of chance. It is a deliberate process that demands persistence and authentic feeling. What's vital to understand is that your subconscious does not distinguish between what is physically true and what is vividly imagined, as long as the accompanying emotion is strong. If you visualize failure and fear it so deeply that your body responds as if it's happening now, your subconscious will accept failure as fact and guide your actions to make it real. Conversely, if you envision yourself living in abundance and the feeling is so powerful your body reacts with joy and ease, your subconscious will accept that too as reality and begin rewiring beliefs and behaviors to match. The problem is, most people sow seeds unconsciously. They allow worry to dominate their days. They let limiting stories play on repeat in their minds. They think they're hoping for something new, when in fact they're reinforcing the same old image. And the subconscious, loyal to whatever is planted, keeps producing the same results. That's why the first step to reprogramming is awareness. Ask yourself, what am I imagining each day? What emotions am I living with? What seeds am I giving to my subconscious? Asterisk. Once you become aware, you can begin to plant anew. This is not a one-time visualization, it's a conscious, repeated act. You choose a clear, vivid image of abundance. You hold it in your mind, and every day you plant it into your subconscious with consistency. Each time you plant it, you ignite it with emotion, so it's not just an empty thought, but a living experience. When you see yourself in the home you desire, feel times the space as if you're walking through it. When you picture financial freedom, let the joy and ease surge through your body. Emotion is the water and sunlight that roots the seed deep. In time, something miraculous begins to happen. Your subconscious starts to accept the new image as truth. It becomes your time's new normal. You no longer feel wealth is foreign. You no longer question whether you deserve it. You begin thinking, deciding, and acting like someone who already lives in abundance. And like a natural law, the world around you shifts to match the change within. Subconscious reprogramming does not happen overnight. It is a process. But just like the farmer never doubts that the seed needs time to sprout, you must not doubt either. Keep planting and nurturing the new image and trust that with every repetition, the subconscious accepts it a little more. One day, without even realizing exactly when it happened, you'll look back and see that everything has changed. This explains why those who sustain success often cultivate their inner world daily. They understand that true power is not in massive effort all at once, but in the steady planting of consistent images that the subconscious can receive. Once this becomes the foundation, action becomes effortless. It's no longer a burden, but a natural extension. Your subconscious is the most powerful tool you possess. It works tirelessly while you sleep, while you dream, even when you're not paying attention. It doesn't analyze or question. It simply carries out what it has been given. That's why times are the one responsible for the garden of your mind. If you wish to reap a harvest of abundance, be certain that the seeds you sow each day are visions of abundance. Once you master this process, wealth will no longer be something that comes and goes. It will become your permanent state. Because at that point, your times, new normal times, will be abundance, and the world will have no choice but to mirror back exactly who you've become. Imagination is the blueprint. Every achievement begins as an inner image. Imagination infused with emotion programs reality. Everything you see in this world, from the house you live in, the chair beneath you, to humanity's greatest wonders, first existed as an image in someone's imagination. Imagination is not child's play. It is a secret blueprint behind all of reality. No creation appears out of thin air. It is first conceived, felt, and nurtured in the mind before becoming matter. The architect sees the building in their mind long before it rises in bricks and cement. The composer hears the music in their soul before writing the first note, and your life as it is right now, is simply the outer expression of the inner images you've carried all along. What makes imagination powerful isn't just its ability to create images, but when those images are saturated with emotion, a passing thought drifts like a cloud, but a thought tied to powerful feeling becomes a seed that takes root in the subconscious. Think back to a time when you worried about something so deeply that you felt it in your bones. You acted as if it had already happened. That's proof. The subconscious treats emotionally charged images as commands, so use that very principle to plant abundance. Don't just times think times about a wealthy life. Times feel times it is real. Let your body tremble with joy. Let your heart feel light, as if every burden has lifted. Let your cells be flooded with peace and security. In that moment, imagination is no longer a daydream. It becomes a blueprint being laid into the foundation of reality. Those who dismiss imagination are often the ones stuck in repetitive lives. They only believe what they can see, never realizing that the eyes merely reveal what has times formed. If you want change, you can't rely on what's visible. You must create new images in your inner world. That is the bridge from potential to reality. This is why sages and creators across time have emphasized the power of visualization. It's not fantasy. It's the foundational labor of rewriting destiny. Think of imagination as a sacred room inside you, a space where you are free to draw the entire script of your life. This is the power of voice within, not just a voice you hear, but a space you return to. Asterisk, in that inner space, you are not bound by circumstances. You are not limited by your past. You can sit still, close your eyes, and see times the wealthiest version of yourself living, working, loving, thriving. And each time you return to that space, you reinforce a new truth within the subconscious until it becomes your new normal, and the outer world must eventually follow that design. Those who achieve extraordinary things are those who know how to dwell in their imagination. Edison times saw, times the light of the bulb before it ever shone. The Wright brothers saw times mankind fly before metal wings ever took off. They didn't merely dream, they felt times it, lived times it, until it became obvious. And then the universe had no choice but to respond. You hold that same power. Imagination is not a gift for the chosen few. It is an innate faculty in every human being. If you want to rebuild your financial life, your career, or your relationships, don't begin from the outside. Begin with the inner blueprint. Take time to paint the picture of what you truly desire. The clearer, the better, then breathe emotion into it. When you do this long enough, you'll begin to act differently without trying. You'll naturally choose opportunities that align with the vision. You'll effortlessly reject what doesn't. You'll move forward with a new confidence. This times is the power of programming reality through imagination. Once you understand and apply this, you'll never again see imagination as wishful thinking, but as the brush that paints your life. And when the blueprint is clearly drawn in the mind, there is no reason the outer world wouldn't be built to match. Reality can only move in the direction that imagination has already defined. This is a spiritual law, and it has never missed its mark. The golden river is always flowing, Abundance is already all around you. Open your eyes beyond fear and doubt to let it flow into your life. There is a golden river flowing around you every moment. It did not begin today, nor will it end tomorrow. It is the eternal current of the universe, carrying within it countless opportunities, resources, ideas, and prosperity. Yet, tragically, most people stand right in the middle of that river and still die of thirst. They do not see, they do not feel, they do not receive, because their inner eyes are still veiled by fear and doubt. Look to nature, and you will understand this truth clearly. No tree worries whether the soil will sustain it. No stream questions whether it will find its way to the sea. All of nature lives in an effortless trust in the flow of abundance. Only human beings, programmed by stories of lack, build walls that block the golden river right before their eyes. And instead of opening their hands to receive, they turn away and blame life for being unfair. Fear and doubt are the cloth over the eyes that keep you from seeing this river. When you believe that opportunities are scarce, that wealth is reserved for the few, that life only gives through hardship, you close your heart, and when the heart is closed, you stand in the midst of abundance and feel only emptiness. What's needed is not to summon the river, it is already there, but to open your eyes, to dare to see it, to dare to receive it, to dare to let go and reach into the flow. Ask yourself, how many times have you rejected an opportunity simply because you believed you weren't good enough, smart enough, or lucky enough? That wasn't truth. It was the veil of doubt. When you lift that veil, you'll see that opportunities have always been more abundant than you imagined. And when you dare to open your eyes, the golden river begins to reflect itself in every step you take. Picture yourself standing by the riverbank. The waters rush by brilliant in the sunlight, carrying countless golden flecks. But if your hands are clenched, if your gaze turns away, you will never know that all it takes is to reach down and receive. Life is the same. Prosperity does not need your pleading. It only needs your permission. And once that permission becomes your inner reality, resistance dissolves. Suddenly, what once seemed far away arrives as if by natural law. To open your eyes beyond fear is to declare that you no longer wish to live by the old story. You no longer wish to believe you are small, that you must fight for scraps, that worry must cloud your vision. To open your eyes is to agree, I belong to this flow. I am part of its nature. I receive without guilt. Asterisk. When you do this, you become a conduit, and the golden river begins to pour through you, nourishing your life and all those you touch. Something miraculous happens when you live in this awareness. Instead of chasing after opportunity, opportunity begins to find times you. Instead of fearing loss, you begin to trust that whatever is needed will be provided. Instead of feeling depleted, you realize you are so abundant that you can give freely without fear. This is not mystical magic. It is the natural outcome of living in harmony with the truth that abundance is already here. Never forget, abundance is not just money. It is the idea that arrives just in time. The person you meet who opens a new door, the health, the joy, the peace. The golden river makes no distinctions. It carries all forms of wealth, and you will receive what you allow yourself to receive. If you believe you are only worthy of just enough, that is what the river will offer. But if you dare to believe you are worthy of overflowing abundance, it will open far beyond what you once dreamed. Here is the turning point. Abundance does not come times from times outside. It flows times through times you. When you open your eyes, when you remove fear and doubt, you become the vessel through which the golden river flows. And once that current begins, it does not just change your times life. It waters every ground you walk upon. You become living proof that abundance is the nature of the universe, and nothing can stop its flow except the limits you believe in. Remember, the golden river is still flowing, whether you believe it or not. The only question is, will you open your eyes to see it? Open your hands to receive it, and open your heart to allow it to move through you. And when you say yes, you'll realize abundance was never far away. It was always here, right beside you, just waiting for you to turn and say, I am ready, the death of the old self. You cannot enter a new life carrying an old identity. Let go of limiting beliefs, habits, and emotions to make room for abundance. No journey of transformation is complete without a farewell. And the hardest goodbye is not to a person, not to a place, but to your time's former self. That self carries with it the belief that you are small, that life is a struggle, that you are only worthy of just enough. It is wrapped in habits of worry, in cycles of fear, in automatic reactions that have repeated for years. It gives the illusion of safety, but it is the very chain that holds you back. If you are to step into a new life, you cannot bring the old self with you. Imagine trying to fill a cup with fresh, pure water while that cup is still full of muddy residue. No matter how clean the water you pour in, it quickly becomes tainted. The first step is not to pour more, but to times empty the old. Your mind is the same. If you cling to limiting patterns and outdated emotions, every opportunity, every miracle, every new teaching will be colored by the past. To contain abundance, you must let the old die so that your inner vessel can be cleansed and expanded. This is not a loss, it is liberation. You are not losing your true self. You are shedding a false shell. You are not forfeiting your strength. You are releasing reflexes that were programmed by fear. This death is the condition for new life. Just as a seed must crack open, just as the outer shell must die for the sprout to break through the soil and rise toward light, so must your old self be surrendered. Yet the old self will not go quietly. It will whisper to you, stay safe, hold on to what's familiar, don't step into the unknown. It will wear the costume of caution, the mask of logic, the voice of so-called reality, all to keep you circling in the known. But you must look it in the eye and recognize that its promise of safety is only a loop of stagnation. That is not living. It is slow, quiet decay. So here is a question I want you to answer honestly and with courage. Is there something in your life, an idea, a bit, a feeling you times know, times is outdated, limiting, expired, but you still hold on to it simply because it's familiar? Maybe it's a belief like, I'm not good enough. Maybe it's a habit, like always choosing fear over boldness. Maybe it's an emotion, anger, shame, guilt that you carry like a badge. Can you see it clearly? And can you say, with truth in your heart, it's time for this to die? I want to thank you for being here, for listening this far. Your presence tells me that you no longer want to live one more day in the loop of your old identity. You are ready to look in the mirror. You are ready to face the truth. Only when the old self dies can you truly begin to live. Asterisk. This is a brave choice. Not everyone is willing to make it, but you are. Trust this. The universe never takes anything from you without offering something greater in return. When you let go of limiting beliefs, you receive freedom. When you release old habits, you receive fresh strength. When you surrender binding emotions, you receive peace. The death of the old self is not the end. It is the doorway to a new era of abundance in your life. And that door is already open. The only question is, will you walk through it? The magnetic law of the mind, you are always broadcasting, and life always matches. Shift your inner frequency, and your outer reality will follow. The human mind is a living magnet, whether you're aware of it or not. Every thought, every emotion, every belief you hold is sending out a constant signal into the invisible field around you. And the universe, like a faithful mirror, responds with circumstances, people, and opportunities that match that signal. You cannot broadcast fear and expect peace in return. You cannot emit lack and expect to draw in abundance. The magnetic law of the mind operates with the same precision as the law of gravity. Look at your life today, and you will see the evidence of the signals you've been sending over the years. If you've often believed that life is a struggle, struggle has repeatedly found you. If you've held the belief that you are unworthy of wealth, you've likely seen opportunities pass you by. But if you've chosen to believe in abundance, in your own creative power, and in your intrinsic worth, you've probably noticed life-opening doors that were once invisible. Here's the key. Your inner signal is not just surface-level thoughts. It lives deeper in your emotions and core beliefs. You can repeat affirmations like, "I am wealthy," all day long. But if your heart trembles with the fear of lack, your true times signal remains poverty. The universe does not respond to your words. It responds to the vibration of your being. So if you want to change your outer world, you must first shift your inner frequency. Imagine yourself as a radio. If you tune to the right frequency, you'll hear the song you want. But if the dial is set wrong, no matter how loudly you turn the volume up, the right music won't play. Life works the same way. Your inner frequency is the channel you're on, and your outer experience will only ever match that station. Those who live in fear receive more reasons to fear. Those who live in faith receive more reasons to believe. It's a loop, but you hold the power to change the channel. At any moment, transformation begins. The moment you choose to cultivate a new signal and maintain it consistently, you cannot expect your life to shift from a single spark of enthusiasm. Just as a magnet must be forged in a strong magnetic field to retain its charge, your mind must be trained in a new belief system until it becomes your natural state. When that happens, you no longer try to send times a new signal. You times become times the signal, and the world will reconfigure around that shift. This is why truly successful people don't just work hard. They times radiate times something. They carry an energy that makes others want to help, to collaborate, to open doors. They don't need to beg. They simply times are. That presence is their signal, and the world responds. On the other hand, some people work tirelessly and still meet endless resistance. Why? Because their underlying broadcast is insecurity, scarcity, or self-doubt. The most important truth is this. You times cannot stop times broadcasting. The mind has no off switch. Even in silence, even when you're sending out a frequency through your state of being. So the question is not times if times you're sending a signal, but times what kind times of signal you're sending. And the answer is already showing in your life, in your finances, in your relationships, in the doors that open or stay shut. Everything is feedback, nothing more, nothing less. Therefore, the power lies in your choice. You can choose to send a new signal. It begins with awareness that every thought and feeling matters. You cannot cling to the old frequency and expect a new life to arrive. Learn to replace worry with trust, doubt with certainty, scarcity with gratitude. As your signal shifts, your magnetic field shifts, and your outer results times must times follow. The magnetic law of the mind is not biased, and it is never wrong. It simply responds with complete accuracy once you understand and apply this. You will no longer be a victim of circumstance. You'll know that you are the broadcaster, the transmitter, and in every moment you are drawing your reality to you by the signal you send. The outside world has no choice but to become a faithful mirror of that frequency. And when you learn to consistently broadcast abundance, you'll find that your life doesn't just change little by little. It transforms entirely. Internal, external alignment, sustainable success requires a self-image big enough to hold it, or else the mechanism of self-sabotage will activate. Some people suddenly find themselves at the top of a mountain. They land a massive deal, receive an unexpected windfall, or achieve a remarkable milestone that draws admiration from others, and yet, not long after, they lose it all. It's not because they lacked skill, nor because the world was against them. It's because internally their self-image wasn't big enough to contain that level of abundance. Like trying to pour water into a small glass, once it overflows, the excess spills out. The mechanism of self-sabotage operates quietly, always pulling you back to the level you've unconsciously accepted as normal. The outer life is constantly seeking to harmonize with the inner life. If you carry a small self-image, you will not be able to sustain big results if deep down you still believe you're unworthy, not smart enough, not valuable enough. Then any success you gain will feel like a burden, and your subconscious will find a way to release it, simply to restore its old familiar baseline. This is why true transformation doesn't begin with numbers or titles. It begins with the image you nurture in your mind. When your self-image expands, it becomes a larger vessel, ready to contain more without overflow. Think back to times when you stepped into a bigger environment, a new job, a relationship, or an opportunity beyond your usual reach. If you felt doubt or a sense that you didn't belong, that was a clear sign. Your self-image was smaller than your circumstances. And if that feeling isn't transformed, you'll unconsciously act in ways that bring you back to what's familiar. You'll reject the opportunity, sabotage your own progress, or simply walk away. It's not your fault. It's the subconscious being loyal to the programming it's received. Sustainable success requires resonance between the inner and the outer. You cannot expect to hold on to an expansive life if your inner world is still confined. So the real work is expanding your inner vision so the outer world can safely rest within the harmony of that alignment. When you change how you see yourself, when you believe you're worthy of abundance, abundance no longer feels like pressure. It becomes a natural reflection. You stop struggling to hold it because you're no longer afraid to lose it. The pullback mechanism vanishes because there's nothing left inside to pull you back. Here lies the miracle. When the inner and outer align, success is no longer fragile. It becomes a state of being. You no longer feel the need to prove anything. You're simply living in alignment with your new identity. Every action, every decision, every opportunity clicks into place with the image you hold within, and the world, ever faithful, mirrors it back. This is the door to true freedom, when you realize success no longer comes and goes, but remains as a natural part of who you are. Remember, alignment cannot be faked. You can deceive others, but never your subconscious. It knows exactly who you are, what you believe, and how worthy you feel. And if your outer life exceeds that threshold, it will activate self-correction to bring you back down. So instead of gripping onto success with fear, expand the inner vessel with new belief. When your self-image grows, success will naturally find a home in you. On this journey, you need a place to return, to a quiet space where the new image can be nurtured. This is the power of voice within, not just a voice you hear, but a space you return to asterisk. It's where you lay down the noise of the world to hear the truth of your being, a place that reminds you that you are already enough, already worthy, already designed to live in abundance, and each time you return, you expand a little more until abundance is no longer something you chase, but something you effortlessly contain. When the inner and outer truly align, your life will carry a strength no storm can shake, because then you will no longer fear success nor worry about failure. You'll know that both are simply reflections of the inner mirror, and when that mirror shines, the images it casts can no longer be dimmed by the old shadows. From victim to creative source, shifting from scarcity and competition to abundant creation, what you seek is also seeking you. Life never truly forces you into lack, but if you choose to see the world through the eyes of fear, you will unconsciously trap yourself in the identity of a victim. As a victim, you're pulled into the cycle of comparison, competition, and fear of loss. Every opportunity becomes a battle. Every success of others becomes a painful reminder of what you believe you're missing. You search outside for what has always been within, and the more you search, the more empty you feel. Transformation begins the moment you realize that competition is not the only path. No one wins forever, and no one loses eternally, because the universe does not operate by the law of limitation. It follows the principle of abundance. When you open your heart to recognize the potential already within you, you step from being a victim into being a creative source. Instead of racing against others, you begin to create. Instead of grasping from lack, you generate overflow. Instead of comparing, you connect and you share. The creative source is not born from pressure. It is born from inner freedom. When you release the mentality of scarcity, ideas begin to flow, opportunities emerge, solutions reveal themselves like water streaming down a hill. This is not magic. It is a direct reflection of your inner state. You think you're chasing opportunities, but the truth is, opportunities are seeking you. When your energy aligns with abundance, life begins to respond without force. Imagine every idea you birth as a seed. If you plant it in the barren soil of fear and comparison, it will struggle to sprout. But if you sow it in fertile ground enriched by self-belief and inner trust, it will grow strong and vibrant. That's why true creativity begins within. You don't need to force yourself to have enough. You simply need to become the kind of person who aligns with enoughness. The results will emerge on their own. It's important to understand that abundance is not confined to material things. It lives in your thoughts, your emotions, your time, your health, and your relationships. When you recognize that every resource is energy, and energy flows where it is honored, you begin to generate abundance from all sides. Instead of competing, you resonate. Instead of doubting, you trust. Instead of worrying, you allow yourself to receive. The shift from victimhood to creative power is a lesson in inner sovereignty. When you live as a victim, you give the world the authority to define your life. You let circumstances, other people, or outside events determine your worth. But when you choose to live from the creative source, you reclaim the truth. Power has always been yours. You no longer react to life, you create it to match your abundant self. This is the leap from passive to active, from surviving to self-directed living. This transformation also requires a new awareness of timing. When you understand that what you're seeking is also seeking you, you stop rushing. You stop forcing. Time is no longer your enemy, it becomes your partner. You plant your seeds, water them with faith, and patiently await the harvest. Everything arrives on time. And when it does, it fits perfectly with the inner image you've prepared. This is the state where every action and decision flows from your creative center, not from anxiety or external craving. You also come to see that abundant creation is a cycle, not a destination. When you create from fullness, you reinforce self-belief, expand your capacity, and generate even more. Luck fades, the pressure disappears. In its place is a continual flow of creative energy, mirroring the abundance that lives inside you. The more you give, the more aligned you become. And the more you receive, the world simply reflects the inner state. Ultimately, the path from victim to creative source is a process of liberation. You liberate yourself from fear, from doubt, from limiting beliefs. You learn to trust yourself. You learn to trust the abundance of life. You begin to believe that what you desire is already on its way to you. And when this creative source rises from within, you're not just changing your results, you're changing your identity. You become a living signal of abundance, and the world simply responds to your frequency each day. Each action, each thought is an invitation to shift from scarcity-based competition to abundance-based creation. When you awaken to this truth, the outer race no longer controls you. You stop exhausting yourself. In comparison, you stop feeling behind. You begin to live from the inner source, from the hidden strength that's always been within you, and the world responds across every dimension of life. This is the final step in becoming someone who truly understands that prosperity is not something you chase. It is the essence you live every single day. Every step you have taken on this journey was never just theory or knowledge. It was a seed planted deep within your inner being. And now all of it leads to this pivotal point. Activation. Activation is not an outer event. It is not about titles, money, or certificates. It is a spiritual act, a silent decision within to allow yourself to believe that you are worthy, that abundance is not something out there, but something that has always lived inside you, ready to flow into your life. The moment you open the door, this act begins with self-recognition. When you tell yourself you are whole, when you affirm that you are heir to a divine legacy of wealth and fullness, you shift the energy that surrounds you. Every thought, every action, every choice becomes synchronized with this new belief. No longer torn by fear, no longer trapped by comparison or doubt, but anchored in the quiet confidence of one who knows who they are and the power they carry. It is vital to understand that activation does not wait for ideal conditions or perfect timing. The moment you recognize and give yourself permission to enter a state of abundance, you trigger a leap in reality. This act does not require spectacle. It does not need outside validation. It only asks for one thing: a commitment within to think, feel, behave, and decide as one who has already received. Every decision you make becomes a reflection of that inner abundance. You will begin to notice that once you give yourself permission to believe and receive, life aligns with ease, opportunities appear, prosperous relationships form, financial and creative flow expands, and every aspect of your life begins to mirror the inner reality that has been awakened. Reality does not shift because you begged for it. It shifts because you became the frequency it has always wanted to dance with. This is how the universe works. What you live inside is reflected outside faithfully and undeniably. This invitation is a reminder. Allow yourself to live as one who has already received, not as theory, not as a hope, but as daily practice. Notice how you speak to yourself. Notice the choices you make. Notice how you respond to life. Each moment is an opportunity to reinforce the truth that you are worthy of abundance, that you are made to experience prosperity, that every limitation is but a veil you can lift by your awareness and your decision. And when this act of sacred permission becomes your habit. You will see your inner and outer worlds move in perfect harmony. No more resistance, no more retreat, no more internal sabotage. You will live in alignment where every principle, every insight, every practice you have gathered reaches its full power. This is the state where your knowledge becomes embodiment, and your embodiment becomes a river of strength flowing through your life. Remember, this is not the end of the journey. This is the beginning of a new life. When you allow yourself to believe and receive, you do not just change your results. You change your identity. You change your inner frequency. You become a center of radiant, abundant energy, and the world has no choice but to respond. Look back now and see how far you have come. You have stepped out of the cycle of lack. You have moved from victimhood to creative power, from comparison to creation, from doubt to divine belief. This is the power of voice within, not just a voice you hear, but a space you return to. When you understand and live with this reminder, every day becomes a chance to reactivate. Every choice becomes a declaration that you are worthy, that abundance is your nature, that your inborn legacy is not just a concept, but a reality waiting for you to receive it. This is the most powerful miracle of all. You allow yourself and the world responds. Finally, let your eyes see life as one who's already received. No more waiting, no more wondering, only vision, vision of opportunity and overflow in every breath and every moment. From now on, every act you take, whether large or small, will be empowered by your inner knowing. Every decision becomes a stone in the foundation of your destiny. Every thought and every emotion becomes a seed of abundance planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious. And they will grow in ways you never imagined. This is the final invitation. Step fully into the state of receiving. Live from your inborn legacy of abundance. Let life reflect the energy that has now been awakened. This is your time to believe, to receive, and to let reality become your faithful ally. When you do this, you do not just change the outer world. You become living proof of the infinite power of consciousness and the inborn abundance that has always existed within you since the beginning. Step beyond old limitations. Release fear and doubt, and live from the state of already having received. When you allow yourself to believe and to receive, the outer world will faithfully mirror the truth within you. This is the power of voice within, not just a voice you hear, but a space you return to. Each day is an opportunity to reactivate this power, and you are the living proof of the inherent abundance that has existed within you since the beginning of time. Prosperity is no longer a destination, but the living essence you choose to embody.